Hello and welcome back to the Behind the Screen podcast. I am joined here once again by, I think it's safe enough that I can call you family by now, my co-host Connor. How you doing?
I feel like I live here. I might as well set up a cot.
It's that time of year again, the time of year where it's impossible to escape your family. And they say you can't pick your family, but what about picking a movie family? When you're watching these families in movies, it's tough to sell it. It's tough to sell a wholesome family vibe altogether. And we're kind of wondering, what is it that makes us think that these families on screen are real? Is it the actors working together beforehand? Is it the individual performances? We're gonna see what makes these families feel so real. Is it the actors themselves, the writing, the plot, or a bit of everything?
You can't have movies without conflict, and what's family without conflict? So it's the perfect pairing.
What's conflict without family? And I'm just gonna take it back to probably the oldest family film that a bunch of us have seen. We all remember seeing Bambi as a kid, and we all remember...
I don't.
Did you blocked it out or successfully, or did you skip Bambi?
I was not allowed to watch Disney movies as a kid.
Too many parents dying in Disney movies.
Too many moms dying specifically.
Yeah, so if you've definitely seen Bambi, we all know that the mom dies at the beginning, and it is one of the most saddest scenes ever in film history. Like, you're watching
in the first 15 minutes too.
And again, it's a
Orphaned
children's film.
right quick.
And you don't see children's films like this anymore. And when you're thinking about families, again, you don't have to think of an animated family, but that mom, that Bambi mother with its like soft, nurturing Disney voice, it was, again, the first expose to a family in a film, I think, that I genuinely connected with. I mean, those gnomes, those little, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, that was like the least family thing ever. They were all like jumping over each other and screaming. That was the worst family.
It was a family with too many little siblings, and I didn't want to be part of it.
Again, I think one of the biggest reasons why this resonated so much with us is that soft Disney voice. It's like a blanket, just like hugging you, and it's like, everything's gonna be okay. And you start thinking like, is my mom gonna be okay? Like, man, you go to your mom crying like, I don't want you to die, Mom. And your mom's like, you're 7. What's going on? What are they showing in these movies?
Gorjan, we're all dying.
Another really good example I find about families being together on screen is Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo.
It's like the opposite, where it's not often you get to see a single dad in a cinema being there for their son. It's kind of like a single mom world where the father always like leaves out on them or something like that, I find.
Was there like a flashback in Finding Nemo? Does Nemo's mom meet an untimely end?
Yeah, the mom dies early on, and what's his name? Marlin has to raise Nemo on its own.
Why do I remember that?
Hey, here's a question. Where's the dad in Toy Story?
He's working. He's...
all 3 movies and all the side adventures they had?
Yeah. He's, sorry, I'm on a business trip, honey.
Can you think of any other movies that have single dads in them? It's kind of tough to... It's almost like now that those movies come out, it's about how tough it is for them.
I was thinking about this, and one of the movies, like the single dad movie, I think, is Kramer versus Kramer with
Kramer versus Kramer,
Dustin
I Am
Hoffman.
Sam. There's a lot of these movies where it's like, it's not like a happy thing. It's like a heart-wrenching experience for these single fathers.
Yeah, no, there's no single dad movies where everybody's just hanging out chilling, I think. Like, there's
Except
always...
for Big Daddy. Yeah, you're right.
Big Daddy, yeah.
And another reason why I think that Finding Nemo worked so well was like Albert Brooks is an actual voice actor. So much we see in animated films now, they just have actors being the voices instead of having an actually trained voice actor. And Al Brooks worked on The Simpsons, which is, again, one of the biggest family shows of all time. I think that he understands the comedic aspects, but also, like, those first couple of seasons of The Simpsons had some really heartwarming, tear-tugging episodes at the end where it kind of ends and you're like, I can't believe this is like a cartoon, Like, I feel very...
It still had that family values kind of sitcom thing going on.
We all listen to Simpsons Wave and cry a little bit every now and then, okay?
Simpsons Wave. What's wrong with you? We don't all do that.
And again, another reason why we might be so attracted to these family members in these animated movies is because the nature of these films being about animals is that the more serious the scenes are, it's kind of almost like more impactful because you're kind of like tearing up at a clownfish. It's like, I didn't think this clownfish would make me cry in this movie, but here I am.
Yeah, I'm like holding back tears and I'm like, it's just a fish. It's not real.
Dad! Mom! Bambi!
Yeah, it really brings back when they left me at the supermarket,
from the animated movies, okay, we're going to go into the live action ones. And there's no shortage of showing a family on screen in these live action movies. And with the holidays coming up, one of the biggest franchises to follow a family in, I think, an incredible way is the National Lampoon's Vacation series.
It's a staple. It's the only Christmas movie really I still watch because the family in it is like so fun to hang out with and like so loving, and it's just got such rewatchability, whereas like other movies for me that are like definitely good, like Christmas with the Cranks and stuff like that, I'm like, I'm good to watch it like once a decade.
Yeah, like I'll sift through those, once every decade or once every 6 or 7 years. Even like the family in Home Alone, it's like, oh my god, there's just so many of them, and then you're just stuck with the one of them.
It's pure chaos, like that, and like watching like Cheaper by the Dozen is like, it's too much. There's too many characters. It's like an Avengers movie.
Versus Vacation is well-planned chaos. That's the best thing about it. And we use the term hangout movie a lot in these. This is a hangout movie with a family that you really want to hang out with.
I think I was looking at all like domestic worldwide box offices for the Vacation movies, and Christmas Vacation did really well worldwide, but critically, I think it has like a 66 on Rotten Tomatoes, which like I thought that film was totally beloved. I thought everybody loved Christmas Vacation.
I think that some people might get tricked into watching it and then they kind of don't like how much of a downer the whole thing is. I mean, but again, like it ends in like a SWAT team storming in, and it's like, I wish that would happen to my family so freaking bad, you know?
Anything to break the monotony of watching reality TV.
Yeah. And again, it focuses on things that we've all experienced within our own families. The family vacation, the craziness of Christmas time, going on a trip when you feel like an outsider. Not just the Christmas Vacation movie, but all the vacation movies. You watch them and you're like, yeah, this is 100% my family in Europe. This is my family 100% on a road trip trying to get out there.
I think Christmas Vacation especially takes all the little rituals of Christmas that are so banal and it turns them into just an adventure, each one of them. And like, I wish going to get a Christmas tree wasn't anything other than just miserable and cold, you know?
And the great thing is, even that film, you're talking about using traditions well. Even the little scenes where they open the advent calendars every day gives you a nice breath of pause between some of the more chaotic scenes where you're kind of like, all right, another day closer to Christmas, and these freaking people are leaving me alone. Not only that, but they change the children between all of the films. And every single one of these vacation movies, they change it, which I love because it gives you that feeling of, you know, some people, I don't get to see my cousins very often. So every time you see your cousins, it's like, are you sure you're the same person as like 3 years ago? It's like, you look completely different this time.
I see my nephew like once a month and I'm like, oh, you're like a totally different person.
They all feel like specifically picked for the content of the film itself as well. It kind of feels like for the Christmas ones, it's like the shorter, kind of more like the more perfect wintertime kids, you know, there are versus Vegas. It's like the kid grew like 4 feet and he's like winning cars at the casino
and
all of a sudden.
He's kind of like sleazy, like he's lost his innocence. So it's perfect.
Yeah, and again, they keep the parents the same too, which again carries through the whole franchise.
Yeah, like Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo. Yeah, they're like kind of like the rock of the franchise. I think if they messed with that a bit more, it wouldn't have been as successful. Like they carry throughout and
looking a little bit rough in that Ed Helms Vacation reboot thing, but
yeah, we don't like to talk about that.
Not my family.
Ed Helms in general, just leave me out of it.
But the first 3 films in the Vacation franchise were written by John Hughes, who people say is the master of friends and family films. He wrote Weird Science, Ferris Bueller, Planes, Trains, Uncle Buck, and Home Alone, which are
16 Candles.
No one ever gave me 16 Candles. Maybe that's why I'm so resentful for it.
They just, whatever was in the drawer, they just threw on the cake.
John Hughes moved around a lot as a kid, and he grew up with 3 sisters. And the places he grew up were more often than not mostly girls and old people, he said. And his parents often criticized him with what he wanted to do with his life. And he ended up publishing Vacation 58 as a short story first in National Lampoon's. Yeah, he just like dominated these family movies. I mean, like Uncle Buck, like Planes, Trains, like these are phenomenal family movies. Not in terms of that they're for families, but that they involve families so much. Like when John Candy talks about his wife in Planes, Trains, it's like, you know, I'd rather watch the Bambi scene, you know, if it gets to that point.
He kept writing after he stopped directing too. Like he wrote 101 Dalmatians and all this other stuff. So obviously a great talent. Like, I mean, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's, they all have this core family dynamic that's in some way dysfunctional, and that's what makes it real.
Yeah, we love, you know, your sister gets a car and you just get a computer. It's like we've all felt that sting before, dude. And there's no shortage of dramatic family movies either. Like, oh, they don't even try and start naming them because there's so many. Oscar baity just went under the radar.
I think there's a certain amount of untruth to making just a straight up drama about a family because it's always funny in hindsight. Like the stuff that goes down, like it's always in some way comedic. So I think trying to pigeonhole that to like a really serious Oscar baity drama is a bit hard to take sometimes.
I think a lot of the time too, these writers come in with stories from their own family that they think would work perfectly for the screen. But then just through like casting, through like the families just don't end up working, and you just have this like unbelievable family that just doesn't work well together. Versus a film like Little Miss Sunshine, it perfectly encapsulates.
It's a ragtag, scruffy bunch.
Oh, the whole Paul Dano when he's losing his mind screaming. My heart was pounding as a kid when I watched that movie with my family. I was just kind of like, I'm kind of glad that my family's not like this, but also like other parts in the movie, like when they're breaking the grandpa out of the hospital. He's dead, but we got to keep going to this.
I didn't know you had to not be colorblind to be a pilot. Until I watched that movie.
You had a very similar reaction while you were watching Little Miss Sunshine.
Like, well,
You're in tune with Paul Dano, screaming at the same time as him. And it shows the highs and lows for all these characters. Even like the softer, goofier comedies about family, I find more enjoyable than the straight up family ones. Have you ever seen Family Man with Nicolas Cage?
Ages ago.
It's a Christmas movie where Nicolas Cage is the man. He's rich, he's doing his own thing, he's having, relationships with all these women, and then he wakes up one day and he realizes that he didn't break up with his girlfriend in university, and he has 2 kids with her, and he's a family man now. Babe, where's the Ferrari? You don't drive a Ferrari, Nicolas Cage.
He's got to get back to doing lines and crushing numbers.
Talking Heads Once in a Lifetime plays in the trailer for it. So that's,
of course,
that's the kind of movie it's going to be.
They're talking about on the Next Picture Show, there was like this whole subgenre in the 90s of these white kind of middle-aged men who are taught lessons and have to become better people. Like that's one of them. Family Man, Groundhog's Day, where they have to undergo this trial to not become an asshole.
The Mel Gibson movie What Women Want is probably like the tipping point of that genre.
Liar Liar, even. We talked about Liar Liar the other week.
Oh my God, you're exposed. What's going on right now?
There was a lot of them in the 90s.
Jeez Louise. There's films about families that go beyond the standard mom, dad, sister, brother household. You have films like The Royal Tenenbaums and Knives Out that show you these crazy big ensemble family casts that I can't really relate to because my family is like 2 people big. But there's people out there that have these huge families, like 10, 15 people, weird uncles, crazy aunts.
I love movie families like that because my family's like pretty small and immediate as well. So when family movies bring in like the family friends, like people who are hangers on, people who are married into the family, like all these different little kind of outsiders outside of the core kind of nuclear family, it's super interesting. Like Owen Wilson, who's like this drug addicted writer, like Luke Wilson goes over to his apartment and he's like, oh yeah, like it's probably the mescaline I just took. That's why I'm acting weird. Like later crashes his car with like face paint on.
And I'm sure people watching that were like, that's Uncle Danny. That's 100% Uncle Danny.
But I don't know. At the same time, the Tenenbaums are kind of like this New York ideal family. Like they were like these precocious children.
The twins with kind of Ben Stiller.
And they kind of just like faded out and kind of slowly realized they were just going to be depressed adults. Like Luke Wilson has his like tennis meltdown, and it's depressing, but it's also kind of super endearing that they can reunite and bring Gene Hackman into the family even after faking stomach cancer.
And then we have films like The Pursuit of Happiness, where Will Smith and his son Jaden Smith are literally playing father and son together. Like this movie blew up the year it came out.
Yeah. And everybody was talking about The Pursuit of Happiness.
Everyone was talking. Rubik's Cubes were probably like going through the roof that year on Amazon. And is it because that they're actually family that it came out so real? Because I don't think when I saw that as a kid, I didn't know that it was his son. Because we were fairly young when that movie came out. You just watch it because you're like, oh, Fresh Prince, Men in Black guy made a movie. I'm going to watch that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, like Will Smith in a drama movie? Is he crying in the trailer? I gotta watch this.
Oh, God.
I just leave it on in the background when I go to sleep.
Do you think that the reason why that movie was so good was because they're related? Or do you think it was just, he's just such a good family man? Like we saw Will Smith growing up in a family in Fresh Prince. Like we're kind of thinking that in a way, all these roles are almost connected. Like we're growing up with him. We see him becoming a father, Versus just a random actor being thrown in there.
Yeah, I think just because it was more of a drama and we were so used to seeing Will Smith in kind of these like zany comedies, I think that was kind of a turning point for him. And yeah, there was just so much on-screen chemistry with his real son, obviously. I wonder how many movies Rubik's Cubes are like an analog for someone being a genius.
Whoa, wait a minute. Did he just finish a Rubik's Cube?
Solve that Rubik's Cube?
That man must have an IQ of 160. Like, is that even a high IQ? I don't know.
160 is very high.
Okay. I don't know my own.
One like 30 is like genius, I'm pretty sure.
I had a pop-up about a test 10 years ago and I took it, okay? And now my credit score is really bad.
I'm legally supposed to be in an institution.
And then we'll just cap off the family live action category with kind of an example of a real family, Boyhood. Did you know that it took 12 years to make Boyhood?
No, I've never heard
you
that.
never heard of that, right?
No, I thought they shot it all
one summer, yeah. Different actors.
No, man, I love Boyhood.
Yeah, I love it.
Again, it's a family hangout movie. Especially seeing how Ethan Hawke kind of changes from this self-centered kind of like cool dad character to being like more responsible and like really not that he didn't before, but just being caring about his kids, being more responsible. Patricia Arquette, like later in the movie when she's like, like I think things would have like worked out if you were the man you are now when we were younger.
Dude, could you imagine getting that?
That's a rough thing to hear.
Yeah.
In a lot of movies, when you have like a quiet character like that, you have to surround them with other characters that kind of like fill the void. And Patricia Arquette and Ethan Hawke really do that. So he is a quiet character, but I think, I don't know, he fits into this family in such an interesting way. For me, that movie was such a surreal experience too, because it mirrored what I was doing growing up. It was like the perfect time. Like
we were the same age as him.
Playing Halo on Xbox.
He's seeing The Dark Knight in theaters. Yeah, you know, they could still be filming it for all we know. They could be doing...
They're still going.
Adulthood.
Boyhoods. Manhood.
All right. We talked about why these families work in these movies, but I think it's time that we take family members from family movies that we like, and we're going to compose the ultimate family. We each picked our own family.
You gave me a sneak preview of your list, and I was like downtrodden. I was like, this movie family is so good, but then, you know what? I think I cracked the code, and I think mine might be a bit better.
First of all, there's no better families, Connor, okay? Family's family. We're not...
There is when it's the family you choose.
This isn't Cheaper by the Dozen 2, where there's like a weird family versus family event going on.
For some reason, when I was making this list, I was like, I put like Sarah Connor at the start, and I'm like, I'm not trying to like murder people. Like, I'm not putting together like a super soldier family. So I had to like shake myself out of that. And I'm like, who would be like a loving mother versus not someone that could just like shoot up a bunch of people in the apocalypse.
Meanwhile, I'm over here being like, dang, I wish I would have picked her as my mom. That's a good idea, dude.
Nope.
Okay. Let's start with family pet. Who do you have?
Yeah, so for my family pet, I picked Gizmo from Gremlins.
Oh my... That is really good. One of the best family movies, and it's a Christmas movie too.
Christmas horror, I love it. The thing is, like, it's easy maintenance.
Yeah.
Don't get them wet. Don't feed them after midnight. Like, I get that they had to do it for a plot device in the film, but you know what? Otherwise, a very chill pet. Like, you don't feed your dog chocolate. Don't get your gremlin wet. It's very easy.
I like how you have the mindset of a child who's like, I want a Pokemon as a pet, you know?
Man, when I found out you couldn't get... I knew immediately, but when you couldn't get a gremlin as a kid, I was like genuinely pissed off.
I'm going to buy one of the gremlin models used in the film and just keep it on my couch to keep me company.
My mom brought me home a Furby, and I'm like, it's not the same,
Mom.
It's probably recording me. They banned them from being in the NSA headquarters.
Well, while you were imagining like fake family pets, I picked Harry from Harry and the Hendersons, who, you know, he has a family of his own at the end of the movie.
Wait, isn't that a Sasquatch?
Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti. He's a family pet, though.
Not Abominable Snowman.
No. That's in like the Arctic regions.
Siberia.
This is your classic in the woods, you know, Harry and the Hendersons. Who hasn't seen that movie, you know? And the crucial point where the climax of the film is that they have to let Harry go into the forest, but they love him so much and he doesn't want to leave them, so they have to yell at him. They have to
That's not really a pet. That's like a sentient, like, man ape.
We don't love you anymore. And he kind of like runs away. It's kind of like the Sasquatch scenes in Tenacious D. Just picture those scenes. It's the exact same movie.
The smell would be pretty bad, though.
Yeah, he lives outside. Yeah. For brothers, I choose Ian Mitchell Smith aka Wyatt Donnelly.
Weird Science.
My brother is a huge jacked up, like, you know, he's a big guy. He's basically Bill Paxton in Weird Science.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I want to pick like the complete opposite of that. You know, I wanted to have a nerdy brother that maybe I can pick on him a little bit sometimes, you know, but ultimately we invent things together. We're making all sorts of contraptions in our bedroom.
I agree with you. When I saw this, I was like, man, I was always the nerdy brother. I wish
I had an, yeah.
And I don't know, like, even if he's like summoning a nuclear ICBM in the house, like never a dull moment. That's what I look for. I just want to shake things up, you know.
I want a brother that can run to, and I'm like, how do you unset something on fire? You know,
how do you unshrink the kids?
How do you unshrink the kids? What's your brother?
I was gonna pick something else, but I picked Richie Tenenbaum. He's always mediating the entire family. He's always keeping a cool head. He's great at tennis. You could teach me how to play tennis, and he's just like loving everybody unconditionally. Sure, he has a few rough patches, but they get through it together.
I think if you put a sweatband on your head, you would look exactly like him as well. If you got like the sunglasses and the white headband.
That's totally what I'm going for, so that's great to hear.
You'd be twins, that's what you're saying.
I just got to get a racket.
All right, sister.
Molly Ringwald from 16 Candles.
Okay.
Because who wouldn't want Molly Ringwald as a sister? You got all that 80s high school hot goss. I mean, everybody forgot her birthday. I wouldn't forget Molly Ringwald's birthday.
Do you have a sister now?
No sister.
Yeah, me neither, right?
So I mean, any sort of movie sister, and she seems pretty chill.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like she'd be good in an apocalypse scenario. But you know what? That's I realize that's not what it's all about.
And I feel like she would be good with like just telling your problems to. Like you run up on her door, you know, and be like, hey, this girl's into me. I don't know what to do. And she would give you like crucial advice.
She'd be like that do the makeover montage where she turns me into this like beautiful man by taking off my glasses. She turns into Luke
Wilson by putting glasses on you.
Yeah.
Then you get all the girls. My sister, I picked Carrie Coon as Margot Dunn from Gone Girl. Because another
A-tier choice.
Carrie Coon is the greatest actress of all time. She is so freaking good.
I hear no lies.
She was great at playing family members in general. She was incredible as the mother in The Leftovers and in Fargo season 3. And some people might say that she's being typecast. Like you look at someone like Patrick Wilson. Is he being typecast into being like a sheriff, a cop, an investigator? Or is he just phenomenal?
Is it just me or
roles?
Like is Patrick Wilson shaped like a sheriff?
He was born a sheriff, I'm pretty sure, dude. Like, there's
came out with a little badge on.
His first words were, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Ma'am. And when you watch Gone Girl, that sister's cool because she like runs a bar. She kind of leaves you alone, but it's like, if your ex, you know, is like murdering people, she'll help you out, dude. She's chill like that. She's got your back no matter what.
That dude was in a lurch. He should not have smiled at that photo op. And guess what? Carrie Coon's there. She's picking up the slack.
That's a great movie. I really gotta rewatch that movie. It's been a while. Grandparents, because everyone's got grandparents somewhere.
I'm picking Laurie Strode from Halloween 2018. She's heavily armed. She's the only family member that I picked that can protect me from a maniac.
So you could have had Laurie Strode as your mom and your grandma is what you're saying.
Yeah, she's not super emotionally available, but you know what? She's got a fortress for a house.
For me, I picked Grandpa Joe.
Grandpa Joe, he's
the old man from Willy Wonka.
Destitute for years until he gets a ticket to the chocolate factory.
Everyone's always harping on Grandpa Joe for being excited about going to a chocolate factory when the man's living in a bed with 4 people for decades. The
Dude
man
had bed sores and he did a jig when he got up.
That's how excited he was to leave that freaking place behind. He was hurting that entire dance sequence.
He could have gone for a walk.
Let's pick our dads right now. I'm gonna pick Nicolas Cage in Raising Arizona. He's not technically a father, but he plays an ex-con who is in a relationship with an ex-cop, and they steal a quintuplet from this rich family that has 4 children. Why do they get to have all the children? We can't have children. Why don't we get one of theirs? And what leads to the craziest Rube Goldberg kind of madness to ever happen in a film. Dogs are chasing Nicolas Cage through stores, through streets. He's just trying to get Pampers for the kid. It's really heartwarming.
You might call it a safe pick, but I gotta go with Clark Griswold.
Oh, that is a good idea.
Because he's always taking you on vacation.
Yeah.
Always taking you on vacation. And you know what? He just cares enough to try to hold up these family traditions. And he loves his family at the end of the day.
What about when he's like hitting on women in like hot tubs and whatnot? He's always kind of doing his own little thing and like picturing, the girl in the pool.
That's for my mom pick to worry about. I'm just a kid.
You just hear Laurie. Clark coming back to bed.
Yo, that's my grandma. Don't be weird. Don't get it twisted.
I'm sorry.
Clark Griswold, he's just all he wants to do for his family is put in a pool in Christmas Vacation, and then he doesn't get the bonus. Any man would go crazy.
Yeah, that's fair.
My mom, maybe a bit of a pretentious pick. I don't know. Gina Rowlands from A Woman Under the Influence.
You're gonna have to explain to everyone listening what the heck you're talking about.
Gina Rowlands.
I told Connor he could only have one weird pick for his list, and this is it.
This is it. John Cassavetes' film, one of his more famous films. Gina Rowlands plays Mabel, this kind of mentally unstable mother trying to raise these children, and it's one of the most out there performances I've ever seen. Watching this movie, I don't really understand it, I don't think, but it's like being trapped in a cage with a dangerous animal.
And that's the mom.
Yeah, you're constantly on the edge of your seat because you have no idea what Gina Rowlands is going to do.
So Clark could cheer her up indefinitely then with his weird antics.
It would just be a curveball in my family of weirdos.
You have to add a little bit
I'm trying to make it as interesting as possible, and this would really put a monkey wrench in things.
My pick for mom was originally I was gonna do Catherine O'Hara because A, Home Alone, B, Schitt's Creek, C, Canadian. But then I was thinking, you know what?
She doesn't have to get citizenship to be in your family.
No, exactly. So that's why I'm like, you know what? Too easy, right? Meryl Streep, 1994, The River Wild. She plays a mom whose husband is an architect. He's always working, and she goes on a kayak adventure with her son. The husband shows up, he brings his work with them, and they bump into Kevin Bacon and John C. Reilly on the river, who kill their traveler, help, because the river is wild, dude. And basically they bump into Meryl and they're like, hey, we need help going down the river. Oh yeah, sure thing. So they spend the day going down the river together. They're swapping boats and stuff. But then it becomes a hostage situation where Meryl's the only one that could lead them down the river. And the whole...
How does she know the way?
She's Les Stroud mom, Meryl Streep. Who wouldn't want Meryl as their mom?
Les Stroud?
Yeah.
Survivor Man?
Yeah, Survivor Man. But Survivor Meryl. So yeah, there's our crazy, disjointed, weird families. And, it seems like when it comes to portraying a family on screen, it takes a talented director, writer, and actor to bring together the illusion that people on screen are a family and not actors.
Runner up for my brother. How do you like them apples?
Ben Aff?
Ben Aff.
Ben Aff. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Leave a like and subscribe. And tell us, who would you want in your film family?